Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a fascinating, a really pivotal time in Cole Porter's life.
Yeah, we've got some great material here. It's from an academic dissertation, and we're honing in on chapter 5.
Right, the one titled Fame and Failure. It digs into that period right after his terrible horse riding accident.
Exactly.
Right.
And for you, our listener, if you want to get the essence of this crucial moment quickly, this deep dive should really deliver. We're looking at how he navigated such a huge setback.
It's not just biography, though, is it? Our source connects his personal struggles directly to his music, his creative output.
Precisely. Fame and failure. It dissects how that physical trauma echoed in his songs and also how it affected that, very carefully crafted public image he had.
It's a fascinating link between life and art.
Definitely. A really compelling one.
Okay, so let's start with the accident itself. 1937, at Countess Edith Dzopola's place. Sounds dramatic even before the fall.
Well, our source suggests he wanted to make an impression. You know Porter.
Ah, yes, a recurring theme.
Right. And the groom apparently warned him, said the horse was pretty spirited, but he went ahead.
And the fall was bad.
Horrific. The horse reared, fell on him, crushed both legs, then apparently it fell again. Just devastating.
Oh, wow. And the initial prognosis?
Yeah.
Not good.
No.
Yeah,
Very bleak. Our source says amputation of both legs was seriously considered.
gosh. But Linda, his wife, intervened.
She did. Absolutely crucial. She refused to accept that prognosis, immediately sought out a top bone specialist in New York.
And that specialist offered some hope.
Agreed to hold off on surgery, yeah.
Yeah.
But only if no complications set in. It meant a long, uncertain rehab instead.
A huge decision. Our source mentions Linda felt amputation would just destroy his morale, his
Yeah.
spirit.
She knew how much his physical self, his appearance was tied into his whole being. You really get a sense of her understanding him.
A human element, yeah.
Absolutely. And Porter himself, well, he clearly struggled. He wrote notes comparing himself to, like, a toe dancer forced to hop endlessly on injured toes.
Such a vivid image. Painful.
It really is. Our source even brings up a parallel with Hans Christian Andersen's The Red Shoes, the girl cursed to dance forever.
Did Porter know this story?
It's unclear, actually. The source mentions the parallel, but doesn't confirm if Porter was consciously thinking of it. Still, the comparison really hits home.
Okay, now this is incredible. Right in the middle of this crisis, he's writing music.
Yeah, that's the story with At Long Last Love. He claimed he started composing it right there while waiting for help after the fall.
Talk about channeling things into art.
Right. It's quite something. And interestingly, our source points out that the melody is actually quite similar to his earlier song, What Is This Thing Called Love, from 1929.
Really? So maybe leaning on something familiar?
Could be. Or just his consistent style showing through. But it's a fascinating detail, perhaps a way to anchor himself creatively in that moment of, chaos.
And the lyrics themselves. Typical Porter.
Oh, very much so. Our source describes that structure, a string of clever, rhyming questions, and then the title repeated at the end of each chorus.
Classic technique.
Masterful, really. Blending that wit and musicality even then, it really gives you that aha moment, seeing that direct translation of experience into song.
So he's dealing with this immense physical challenge, but he's also still managing his public image.
Oh, absolutely. He was a master of that. Our source emphasizes his skill in controlling the narrative, getting the press to believe his version of events.
How did he portray himself then?
Effortlessly sophisticated, still living the high life. There's a great quote in our source from Lucius Beebe, the columnist, describing Porter's lifestyle: pearls, cars, fancy travel. Almost envious,
Painting that picture of complete success.
Exactly. Which makes it quite the contrast, as our source points out, that the musical featuring At Long Last Love, You Never Know, wasn't actually a big hit.
So there's the failure part of the chapter title. Fame, but maybe not always box office gold.
Right. It shows that even for Porter, success wasn't guaranteed. The theater world is fickle. It highlights that tension.
Let's talk about another Porter trademark the list song. Our source brings this up again, that connection to current events.
Yeah, it's such a key part of his style. These songs are packed with topical references, which is always fun to unpack now.
Grounding the wit in the moment.
Precisely. Our source gives some great examples from You're the Top.
Like who?
Okay, so there's George G. Nathan, the famously sharp theater critic, Greta Garbo, and talk about her salary demands back then, Max Baer, the boxer, Mrs. Astor, Queen Bee of New York society.
Names everyone would have known instantly.
Right, very much figures of the moment in the 30s. And then in Anything Goes, you get Evelyn Walsh McLean and her trip to Russia.
Yep.
Max Gordon, the producer, Anna Sken, the actress they were trying to build up as the next Garbo.
Wow. It really shows how plugged in he was.
Absolutely. He wove the whole cultural pulse right into the lyrics. It adds such a fascinating layer.
Okay, let's shift to Leave It to Me and probably its most famous song, My Heart Belongs to Daddy. Mary Martin's big debut, right?
Huge debut. And our source really digs into the performance, that amazing contrast between her seemingly innocent delivery and the very suggestive lyrics,
Plus the striptease.
plus a striptease. It was this combination that just captivated people. That juxtaposition was key.
And Porter had that joke about musical theater being writing Jewish music.
He did, yeah. Known for his quips.
Yeah.
And our source notes how My Heart Belongs to Daddy uses minor cadences that, could evoke cantorial prayer. Even the da-da-da-da-da repetition.
You bit cheeky.
Very Porter.
Mhm.
And there was potential for controversy, right? Interpreting Daddy as, an older, rich, possibly Jewish man.
But Martin's performance kind of smoothed that over.
It seems so. Our source suggests her charm and apparent naivety just disarmed everyone. The audience got the joke, the innuendo lines like, dine on my fine Finnan Hattie, or treats and repeats it.
Okay, yeah. Not subtle if you're listening closely.
Exactly. New York audiences definitely understood the undertones. But despite any potential whispers, the reviews for the score were fantastic.
So, another success, despite everything.
Reaffirmed his position, absolutely.
Now, our source brings in some interesting theoretical ideas, androgyny, and camp. How does that apply to Porter?
Well, it notes that Porter, like Noel Coward, often wrote lyrics that weren't strictly gendered, allowing for a kind of fluidity.
And the camp aspect, that's from Susan Sontag.
Right, Sontag's idea of camp as this theatrical, exaggerated, often effeminate sensibility. Our source connects this to this sort of artificiality and exaggeration you find in a lot of Porter's work.
So it wasn't about hiding, necessarily.
The suggestion from our source is that this camp persona was something he developed early on, and it actually helped him thrive in that very style-conscious world he inhabited. It was part of his artistic toolkit.
Interesting, like embracing a certain kind of performance.
Yeah. There's even a story about his producers giving him a gold cigarette case inscribed with Noel Coward lyrics, a nod to their shared style. They understood it.
It's amazing how layered his work is, and the range of topics, too. Our source mentions this eclecticism.
Oh, completely. He jumped from, Louis V to striptease to jazz to little story songs like Katie Went to Haiti.
Tell us about Katie.
Well, our source just briefly mentions it as an example of his narrative skill. Katie goes to Haiti, plans to stay a bit, but keeps getting sidetracked by new romances and ends up staying much, much longer. It's witty, tells a whole story.
He really covered a lot of ground.
No question. His interests were wide-ranging, and it shows.
But then, amidst all the wit and sometimes risque stuff, like in DeBerry Was a Lady, you get something completely different. Our source highlights Do I Love You?
Yes, such a contrast. After all the body humor in that show, this song is just refreshingly simple, direct, and full of genuine sentiment.
How does the source describe it?
It focuses on the directness of the questions, the really clear expression of love in the lyrics. It just proves his versatility. He could do the clever wordplay, but he could also write a straightforward, heartfelt ballad.
And Ethel Merman sang it. She's usually known for belting out the big, brassy numbers.
She did,
Hmm.
and apparently delivered it beautifully, which again speaks volumes about her range, but also about Porter's ability to write songs that worked for different performers and different moods.
And DeBerry Was a Lady was another hit for him.
Big hit. Our source confirms that.
Hmm.
It really cemented his ongoing popularity, even while he was dealing with those serious physical limitations.
So, wrapping up this deep dive into this specific period, this fame and failure time, what are the main takeaways from our source?
I think the biggest one is resilience. Just incredible resilience. Despite this life-altering injury, his creativity didn't just survive, it seemed to thrive in some ways. We got amazing songs like At Long Last Love, My Heart Belongs to Daddy.
And he kept that signature style going.
Absolutely. The topical references, the sharp wit, that ability to be playful, even a bit controversial, it was all still there.
But with this undercurrent of struggle.
Exactly. That's the key insight, I think. The fame was real, the success continued, but it wasn't effortless anymore. There was this constant backdrop of pain, of rehabilitation. It gives you a much richer, more nuanced picture of the man.
A more complete picture than just the glittering surface.
For sure.
That's a really powerful way to look at it. So, for you, listening along, here's something to think about. How might that constant battle with physical pain, even hidden behind the wit and sophistication, have subtly seeped into the emotional core of his later songs? Could this era of fame and failure have left a deeper mark on his art than we usually notice? Definitely something worth pondering. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.